All right, this is episode 16 of the Retro Game Club podcast. I'm Hugh, and this is Rob.
And if you don't like RetroArch, you should probably not listen to our news, because we got a lot of it.
There is a lot of RetroArch news, yeah. Yeah, a lot of really exciting. There's the first one, which we'll get to in a little bit. I'm
really,
over the
really
excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to?
I've been sitting here debating whether I'm going to stay up till midnight tonight to pre-order the TurboGrafx-16 Mini. So it broke in the last week, but they got the final game list. Mm-hmm. Some of the worst headlines I've ever seen are about the final game list, because they say, like, TurboGrafx Mini has 50 games. And what they mean is, if you buy both the US and Japanese version, you get 50 games. Individually, they each have 26-ish games.
Yeah.
So, horrible headlines, but whatever.
Yeah, that's a news item we will get to.
Yeah. But then it says exclusively for pre-sale on Amazon Prime Day. And I don't know if this is going to be like the NES Classic or the PlayStation Classic in terms of demand. But the fact that it's pre-order maybe means no matter how many people pre-order, they're going to make that many. Because maybe they, have a deal with some plant in China or Taiwan or wherever, right? Maybe the state of Wisconsin is spending $4 billion to build a TurboGrafx-16 Mini plant.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Somewhere, someone has an order out that they will make however many of these get pre-ordered. In which case, I don't really care about. I can order it at any time on Prime Day. Or if it's going to be like the NES Classic and be kind of short supply and heavily scalped, then maybe I want to log into Amazon at midnight tonight to pre-order the thing. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I think there'll be enough of them.
Yeah, I think because of the pre-order model, it means they're going to make however many get pre-ordered, plus then another 30% to send to Target or something. I know they say it's going to be an Amazon exclusive, but it's not going to be an Amazon exclusive.
Yeah, there's no way that'll last. Cool. Yeah. My vacation officially ends pretty much after we record this episode. I've been out of work for 12 days, and it's been the first time where I actually unplugged. So I will have 10,000 emails to catch up on tomorrow. And been playing, been outside a lot, and been playing Days Gone, which I got a good deal on PS4. That game got mixed reviews, but I'm enjoying it. You sneak up on zombies and bikers and stab them in the head pretty much over and over again. So if that's your thing, you would like that game. And yeah, that's about it. I guess we should. We have so much news to go over.
Yeah, there is. We bumped a few items too, just to make room for everything. But yeah, RetroArch has had a lot of really great announcements. So, first one is about running real games off CD-ROM. Sega CD, Sega Saturn, PlayStation 1, even 3DO support they're going to be adding, they say, very soon. Now, I know some emulators, like I have some Genesis emulators, and I have TurboGrafx emulators that can run off actual CDs. I don't have... I suppose there are some, but I don't currently have like a good emulator for 3DO or Saturn that I can just put a disc in. So I'm pretty excited about this. I own obviously it's like if I have a 3DO and a Saturn, why would I care if I could emulate them? And really the issue is like if I want to do an article about a game or something and I want to take screenshots, it's just a lot easier to do that off an emulator than, hooking it up so you can take screenshots off the TV that look good.
Well, and also you can use this to rip your games as well. So you can rip them directly into RetroArch, which I think is very convenient. They're building this eventually. They're building this into Laka as well. I think this is great, and also I think that this might open the door to be able to play your cartridge games through like a NES cartridge to USB adapter, directly into RetroArch. And if anyone from RetroArch is listening, please get on that. Yeah, they've been firing on all cylinders lately. Because right around the same day on July 7th, they announced in our second article LibRetroCore PlayStation 2 emulator ready to download. So you can emulate your PlayStation 2 right in RetroArch now.
Yeah. I mean, there have been PlayStation 2 emulators before where this is just it's going to save you some configuration. And it means, I guess if you're running RetroPie, I guess you may be able to hook that up. Now, I don't know if RetroPie has to do something extra to add it, but I'm sure they will. So I'm kind of curious, like, how PlayStation 2 emulation on, like, that new Raspberry Pi 4 would look, for example.
It probably won't. It probably just won't. Maybe 2 frames a second or something, because, I mean, I'm sure that still chokes on Dreamcast. I mean, I haven't tried it, so I don't know, but...
The thing is, like, like, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, the PlayStation 2 is now, like, 19-year-old hardware.
True. Yeah. Wow.
So even low-end stuff today is going to be substantially more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, let's see. It's a 294 to 300 megahertz CPU, depending which model you bought.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not, like... That's not easy to emulate, right? But some extra coprocessors. I was mostly looking at, like, the RAM, but the RAM is going to be under 4 gig. I mean, 4 gig of RAM in 2000, the machine would have cost $2,000.
And the Dreamcast is 200 megahertz. So what's an extra 100 megahertz?
Yeah. RetroArch is also coming to Steam this month.
Yeah. I guess just to make it more accessible.
Yeah, only the Windows version at first. They are later doing the Linux and Mac OS versions. There's really, they say initially there's no difference between it and what you would download normally, right? Mm-hmm. I suppose it means they could in the future. I mean, I don't know much about Steam, but I suppose it means you could integrate achievements with any game that it can play. I suppose you could do something like that.
I didn't think about that.
I mean, this is sort of like when Sega released their classics on Steam. They essentially just hooked up a Sega Genesis emulator to Steam, right? They were distributed to Sega Genesis emulator. And, you know, and then people can upload, like, IPS files. Like ROM hacks I've created, I know are available on Steam. I know who the people who uploaded them didn't credit me. I don't really care. But I know they're out there, so that's kind of interesting. So I guess it opens the door for things like that as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like RetroArch just has a bunch of projects people have been working on for a long time, and it's all kind of coming to a head at the same time, which is good for us. A lot of retro news from one source there. And we have one more item, and the rest of those items were directly from RetroArch or LibRetro's blog. But this one is from woolulu.net, which I've never been to before. This bounty for the PS Vita to give it GPU acceleration from RetroArch, which what that means is that right now, if you use RetroArch on a Vita, it's doing all the rendering in software. And for stuff like the PS1 or the N64, that really bogs down the whole system, and you don't really have enough processing power to do anything. But GitHub, which is the source code hosting provider that RetroArch uses, you can attach bounties to a bug you put in. And someone put in this bug and created a bounty. And when this article came out, it was up to $500. That means people like you and me giving $10 here or there. And then after I posted this to our Facebook, it doubled. As of today, we're over $1,000. So I'm sure not all that is from us, but let's just take credit for it.
Yeah, we can go ahead and take credit for that. Why not?
But this is cool. So someone picked it up, one of the RetroArch programmers, and is just going through this and actually adding hardware acceleration to the PS Vita and the PS TV.
Yeah, for me, this is a wait for the mini Switch situation, because I assume at some point the mini Switch will have Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I assume so too. If not, you have that on a 3DS anyway.
Yeah, you have a pretty good version. Yeah, I guess if the 3DS can run Ocarina of Time, the Vita definitely can, because the Vita is essentially a portable PlayStation 3.
But it's not being emulated on 3DS. It was kind of recoded for it, or at least adapted to it.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be emulated. But this also opens up the door to other cool things, like when you're emulating SNES or other systems of that era on the Vita or PSTV, you'll have more processing power for, like, if you want to do scan lines or some shader stuff, add bezels on the side, that kind of thing. Or sorry, bezels for the rest of, for everyone not from Detroit. It'll be interesting to see how long this actually takes to code, because this doesn't seem like an easy thing to do. I mean, do you know anything about Vita GPU? I don't know if that'd be an API or just straight
I don't know what
bare metal programming.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's an assembler and a compiler, a C compiler for it. So I don't know.
Well,
I would first look to see if, like, Bitcoin miners have figured out how to work with
it. True, and just take their code.
Yeah, so you have, like, a Vita in your pocket that's constantly mining Bitcoin.
The programmer named frangar, Frangar, is the one that's taking this up and completing this. So good luck to you, my friend. And I think that is the end of our RetroArch segment.
So we got the speedrunning segment next.
Yes, so up first is a history of Rainbow Road World Records. And this is a YouTube video that came out on July 4th by Summoning Salt is the name of the user that put this together. Or at least it's on his page. But it's really a history of Mario Kart's Rainbow Road and glitches you could use to you get the world record. And I watched this more than once. It's almost documentary style. It's pretty cool. And I learned a lot about Rainbow Road because I haven't played Double Dash. That was the era where I wasn't playing much video games, so it was kind of cool to catch up on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a hard level. Like, I've always found it to be a very, very difficult level, because the graphics don't help you. Like, it feels, like the graphics make the level more difficult, at least for me. I have a hard time keeping up with where the track is, and the track itself is very kind of unpredictable and throws a lot of strange curves at you. That's not a pun. It literally throws, like, crazy curves at you.
Yeah.
So I've always been bad at that level. But it is, it's an interesting video here, definitely.
And then up next, Speedrunners helped me better understand the weird games of my childhood. So this is on Kotaku. And it's just kind of a retrospective on, you owned a few of these games when you were younger. Blaster Master, for example, not the easiest game to beat. And watching these new videos of speedrunners really help you understand how to be good at a video game or the dynamics of a specific game. I thought this was a great article.
Yeah, this has been out this is the problem with, taking a little break. Like, I read this a couple weeks ago, and then I'm like, wait, what was that about again? Oh, yeah. So, I read this when it was first published, and he talks about a few other speedruns, not just NES speedruns get mentioned here, but it is sort of about, him being kind of surprised at how quickly people blew through these games that were extremely difficult for him.
Yeah. And back then, I didn't know about speedrunning until, it started popping up on YouTube. So there was really no way to know how good people were at stuff back then.
Yeah.
And another video, and this is on Kotaku as well. Sega's Dreamcast remembered by 8 of its most important developers. So this is a many-part series on YouTube with interviews from a lot of the development team at Sega for Dreamcast. And it's all in Japanese, so it is subtitled. I usually don't mind that, but I wanted this to kind of be a background thing that I was kind of listening to, and that was not possible.
Yeah, right. You're not going to listen to it while in your car or something. If you
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, don't watch YouTube in your car, but if there's a podcast or something on YouTube, you get what I'm saying. Like, you can put it on in your car.
Yeah. I thought one of the coolest segments was the programmer to Rez. The same team was also programming, what's it called? Space Channel 5 at the same time. And, developer crunch is not a new thing. They were crunching back then too. So during the day, they would develop Space Channel 5, and at night they would develop Rez. And you could kind of see the difference between night and day in both games. And I had no idea that those were by the same people, actually.
Yeah. Geez. So unrelated, I actually started drafting an article called, crunch. It's not just for game development, because there's like a whole lot of focus on that in the game industry recently, but software industry as a whole, it's a very, very bad problem. I've worked on projects that definitely were not game projects, with conditions that rival what you hear about on some game studios.
Oh yeah, and I've been there too, where you get told by a manager or the executive staff, here's a deadline for a project, and you crunch the numbers and you tell them that that date you came up with is not possible. Doesn't matter how many people we hire, and doesn't seem to sway many many managers.
Yeah. When I write about it, it's going to be more like the Mythical Man Month kind of thing, because as you noted, like, you'll say, well, there's 10,000 hours of work on this project and only 4,000 hours of working hours, 9 to 5 working hours to do this in. And that's actually a pretty short project. So I pick bigger numbers next time. And they're like, well, that's fine. We'll just hire 20 more developers, right? Or we'll get 20 more developers from this offshore firm or whatever. And then, like, you're spending most of your time trying to prevent the bad developers, like trying to figure out who of this 20 you brought in can actually code, and then keeping the other 18 away from those two.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I have been there. So yeah. And I'm sure this is, it's known that it's part of the Japanese work culture, that I think this isn't, not even programming there. It's kind of anywhere you work.
The work culture. I know the articles about crunch have mostly been around like US and UK game developers, because, in the US, there's not a lot of jobs that require 6 or 7 days, other than like, medical resident, right? Where it's expected that you're working at minimum, 6 12-hour days a week, right?
Yeah, not sustainable. But if you like the Dreamcast at all, if you like any of its top games like Soul Calibur, Ikaruga, Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, all those developers are a part of this. And really cool kind of retrospective. And then along with that came on Kotaku also the best Dreamcast games. Just kind of a list that this guy curated. Yeah. What did you think of this list?
I maybe have one game on this list on mine. But again, we have different tastes. That's why I hate lists that are like the best so-and-so. Like, I'm perfectly fine with, these are my favorite Dreamcast games.
Yeah.
Like, but, it's very hard to say these are like, it's very hard to say something is objectively the best game on a system, because, if you don't particularly like rhythm games, you're never going to think Samba de Amigo is a good game. And if you don't like racing games, you're never going to think Crazy Taxi is a good game.
And that's why I don't give reviews much weight, because, it's just what some person thought of something.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with me.
Right. I spent more hours playing Bust-A-Move 4 on Dreamcast than most of these games. I would not put Bust-A-Move 4 as like number one best Dreamcast game because of that.
And Seaman is on this list, and that just kind of felt like a tech demo to me.
Yeah, it's a kind of polarizing game. Some people think it's a great achievement, and others
it's an achievement.
disagree.
I don't know if it's a game.
It's something, yeah. So something that is a game is Extraterrestrials for Atari 2600. And it's a fairly rare Atari game, maybe not the rarest. And someone put it on eBay for $90,000.
Yes. And I'm clicking on that link right now. Let's see if it's still alive. And it looks like it is. You can make an offer.
Okay. I'm going to stick with my opening offer of 0. I played a ROM of this. It's not... I mean, obviously, if you're paying 90, obviously you're not buying this to play it, I guess. But
yeah.
It's not hard to get like a ROM dump of this game if you're curious about it. It's just not very good. I mean, that's what I'll like
And
to
it's
say.
not E.T. It's Extraterrestrial. It has nothing to do with the actual E.T. game.
Yeah.
It's not that game.
Yeah. And again, I know it is rare, right? But yeah.
I think if I had $90,000, I don't think I would spend it on this.
No. Maybe you would buy, was it Air Raid? What is the game that's even rarer? Was that what it's called? By Menavision?
I have no idea.
Yeah, Air Raid. It was a game, the company literally called Men-A-Vision with a rainbow logo. And I think there's confirmed 1 or 2 copies that exist. So
Yeah, not for me. But if any of our listeners have some money burning a hole in their pocket, we have eBay listing for you.
yeah, I mean, if you got a bunch of Bitcoin or something, I guess. Moving sucks, but especially if you're a geek.
Yeah, so this is from Gizmodo and IO9, same company.
Yeah.
And it's just this guy who is a game writer or reviewer and a collector of geeky stuff like me and a lot of people I know. And he just moved a few days ago and is telling us about how bad it is. When's the last time you had to move?
Oh, I've been in this house like 15 years probably.
Okay.
So it's been a while. And mostly because I wanted to make my kids change schools. Yeah, I suppose it's tough. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you got to keep in mind my father was in the Army. So when I was young, we moved quite a few times. And I guess I just have a different view of it. Like, it just almost seems like... It doesn't seem routine, because obviously I'm not doing it very often. But it just doesn't seem like this big, huge thing that that most people make it out to be.
But you didn't have all these collectibles and stuff back then. Boxing that stuff up, and especially stuff like posters.
I still, I feel like I could probably pack up my game collection nice and securely in like one day. I don't really think I don't know. I don't really view it as as being a big crisis.
We went through it 3 years ago. We moved pretty much just down the road, and yeah, I mean, I had all my arcade collectibles, plus back then I had 12 arcade cabs, and that was a nightmare by itself.
Yeah, that would be bad. Arcade cabinets would definitely be bad.
But this guy has pictures of a bunch of like Star Wars Legos and posters of movie props and
yeah, it's all just stuff, man. Wrap it up and put it in a box, man.
Yeah.
Or just do it yourself if you don't trust movers to do it.
Yeah, I always move all the small stuff myself and just leave the rest to the movers.
I think moving is bad if you have heavy wood furniture. I would
That's
much
what
rather
you hire
rather
people
move
to
games,
move.
yeah, than like, hi, I have this antique curio cabinet or whatever. Like, all right. So we talked a little bit, at least I did, about the TurboGrafx-16 Mini. It's like I'm probably going to end up pre-ordering it, even though I have no idea if the emulation is going to be any good. Like, for all I know, I'm going to end up getting a overpriced, like, At Games box. I am very skeptical or at least very worried about that. The final list of games, though, is really solid, and I think just based on the game list, like I own physical copies of like half of these games, so okay, whatever. But there's stuff like they mentioned Space Harrier on.
Yeah, Space Harrier is on the US one.
Yeah, that's weird. Like,
because it's Sega.
Because it's Sega, and because I remember it being released, but
it's my favorite port of Space Harrier, other than the 3DS port.
So I'm attempting to use their website to look at the specs. The website is prompting me for my age.
Are you sure it's the right website?
Konami.com/games/ and then it gets blocked after I enter my age. Like, are there M-rated games for the TurboGrafx? Is that actually a thing?
I thought that was mostly for the PCFX.
Right, like this game list, I can't see anything. Yeah, I got carded at GameStop once. I almost like walked out. I forget what I was buying even. I almost never shop at GameStop, but yeah, they did card me once. I'm like,
this date thing isn't even working for me.
Yeah, they have a link to the Konami site, and it's like, go here now, enter your age. I'm like, well, okay. You afraid I'm not old enough to play Chu Man Fu? I mean, what is?
And then it just brings you to a YouTube video that you could have just gone to by yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, at least they know I'm over 18 before going fine. My birthday is now September 15th, 1904. Let me in. Is 1904 old enough to view your video? No, it's still not. I'm still getting errors. All right, maybe I'm not going to pre-order the system because if Konami can't figure out a website.
So, other than the game list that was released, they also have photos of it. It does have 2 USB slots in the front. The controllers are USB. It comes with 2 controllers, but you can use an adapter, or you can buy... There's a separate multi-tap adapter for it that you could buy separately, just like you could back in the day. So I was right. I made fun of it earlier, saying they might do that, and unfortunately, I was right. So you can get your multi-tap or TurboTap Mini.
Yeah, I'm just only worried about... I'm just worried about the quality of emulation. That's about it. It's just hard, it's hard to trust Konami to do this right, but they might also... I'm assuming they're farming it out to someone else. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you have 2 USB ports. So for, I guess, just Dungeon Explorer, you would need more, right?
It comes with a power supply.
Yeah, good. So that's a step up from the PlayStation Classic. But yeah, the final game list, I mean, I own a lot of these, but then there's some I don't. It does mention a few kind of pricey games, like Lords of Thunder is on there. That's a pretty hard one to get. I think Airzonk, even though I was not really excited about getting that game, I don't own it, and it's hard to get. Stuff like Motor Rotor is actually a really, really fun game. Of course, Newtopia 1 and 2, New Adventure Island, Eastbook 1 and 2, which is my personal favorite game on the system. See, I didn't say the best game on the system. It's my personal favorite. I mean, it's a good lineup, and I guess I will end up taking a chance on it, right?
There's 3 obvious games missing. Keith Courage.
Good.
The first Bonk's Adventure.
Bad.
And Devil's Crush. I thought all 3 of those would be on there, especially since Alien Crush and Bonk's Revenge are both on there.
Yeah, now Bonk's Revenge is great. It is weird that Bonk's Adventure is not on there. That's true. That is true.
I need to give Newtopia 2 a playthrough again.
Yeah, I don't believe they are... I played through them a long, long time ago, and I would definitely play through them again. I don't really recall if they're a continuous story or if they're just 2 games in the same style that are loosely connected.
What else? Right, and Ninja Spirit is also, I mean, that's another we could skip ahead to that article, but
Yeah.
it's been released on PS4 and Switch.
Yeah, so if you don't want to get the TurboGrafx Mini version, I guess you'll be able to get it on PS4 and Switch also. So this is a really fun game. I know I talked about it last episode or maybe 2 episodes ago or whatever, but this is a absolutely solid game.
And this article calls it tough. I think I got through it pretty quickly.
Maybe, yeah. I know I've completed it at some point back in the day. It's just kind of these things where you get a lot of power-ups along, like once you have like the max power-ups in the
you
game.
You can't die.
You can't die, but once you do die, then like if you die once, the game is almost impossible.
Yeah. But the graphics are so good on the artwork's so good on it. I think this next one you just put up, or did I put this up?
I didn't realize we were recording today until today, so I just added a bunch of stuff. And this is over on a site I like a lot, arcadeheroes.com, there's a color restoration site called Colorize, which uses AI deep learning or whatever to colorize black and white photos. I uploaded some old family photos just to see how they turned out. Because I was curious, but they took old arcade photos and ran them through this app, and man, they look great.
Yeah, these look really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know what to say about this, just that it's almost unbelievable how these turned out.
Yeah. So the photos they uploaded was one like kids in what sort of looks like a bowling alley that has a game room maybe. Mm-hmm. I say kids, I mean like teens and some adults. They had a lot of sit-down games. That one turned out pretty good. Another one that's just like a kid in an arcade playing Bubbles, and another guy in a leather jacket behind him playing, I'm not sure what.
I'm not sure what that game is either.
Yeah, but this is like the dumpiest looking arcade on earth. It just looks like someone's garage. And because you know what color these arcade cabinets are supposed to be, that's kind of how you can tell if the color restoration was good. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then an old black and white photo of Sega's headquarters.
Which is so good. It almost looks like a 3D render.
It does, yeah. I was thinking it looks like if you were to walk by the Sega headquarters while playing Shenmue is what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then this sort of legendary Atari picture with Nolan Bushnell and those guys by the pond cabinet. You've seen this photo before. Everybody's seen this photo.
Yeah. And next one is yours too. I didn't even read this one yet.
Yeah, I got a bunch in a row here. There's a Kickstarter for a new game called Orange Island, which is they have a PC version, but they're also going to produce a physical NES version. It's they call it an action adventure RPG. The graphics on it look really, really amazing.
Yeah, kind of an American anime style.
Yeah, like some of the scenes are a little bit Earthbound inspired, but the game is not otherwise like Earthbound at all. It's a side-scrolling game, maybe, Legacy of the Wizard kind of style thing. But like overall, this looks. I think it looks all right. It's got a mix of different modes. Besides just like it's got sort of like this. I'm in a building sort of Earthboundy look thing, and then I'm doing a side-scrolling action level, but I guess, since you gain stats, they call it RPG-ish.
And they already made it to the mark, the pledge mark, where they will do a Switch port for this.
Yeah.
That's, wow. Yeah, they wanted to make $18,857. They've made $58,600. So that must be they must be doing some kind of conversion. Where is this in Europe or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it's in pounds.
An interesting addition is the sound designer from Secret of Mana is part of the project.
Huh.
Okay. Otherwise, it seems to be a Western dev team outside of him.
Do you think you're going to pick this one up?
I haven't really looked at the prices yet, but it looks really good. So I got to see how much is a physical copy? Access 25. I'm trying to figure out what tier you get, like the cartridge, and then converted. So 30 euros is the digital game. 40, you get some extra stuff. 45, close. I don't care about closed beta access. There we go. 45 euros or more is complete inbox NES and gaming credits and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there's a few more. I kind of do want to back more of these than I have been. There was one I saw at Midwest Gaming Classic this year called, was it Full Quiet? That graphically is maybe one of the top 10 NES games ever.
Mm-hmm.
And that, unfortunately, I missed the Kickstarter on that, but then they have the, whatever, post-Kickstarter where you can still pre-order it, and I got to go ahead and do that before that closes.
Yeah, that game does look great. And then the next one, a forgotten and Kirby-free HAL SNES title has been preserved for the ages. So this is a game called Special T-Shot, and it's a prototype that is now on YouTube that never really got completed, but its tech was converted over to Kirby's Dream Course.
Yeah, I mean, to say it wasn't completed is a stretch, because I think Kirby's Dream Course is just this game reskinned. I mean, I don't see a lot of... I mean, I'll have to play the ROM, this leaked ROM, but I don't really see a lot of differences between it and Kirby's Dream Course.
Yeah. And, I don't know what I think about Kirby's Dream Course. Kind of felt like a bit shovelware-ish to me. Yeah. I mean, nothing bad about it, just, it's kind of like a putt-putt game, right?
It is a putt-putt game, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great. I didn't really care for it. And it's on... I think it's on... Is it on the Super Nintendo Classic too? I think they just threw it in there because it had Kirby in the title and could get the rights to it.
Oh, I have to look this up because that would be one I just kind of looked past.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know this off the top of my head.
I'm looking at the game right now. Kirby Superstars. 8 games won, so that might be it. Is it on that?
It was on Virtual Console, and I know I paused with that. It might have been in the Kirby... Maybe I'm thinking of the Kirby Anniversary Collection for Wii or something.
Yeah, it's not part of Superstar.
Yeah, so I must be thinking of the Kirby Collection for Wii. That's all.
And somehow... Oh, no, we have... No, that's it. We made it through our news. That didn't take as long as I thought. So, yeah, the topic of this episode is Kansas Fest, and I interviewed Kate Skotnicki, who is a coordinator for Kansas Fest, and a really great interview. And here you go. All right, our topic of the week, we're interviewing Kate Skotnicki from Kansas Fest. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you.
And for those that don't know, I guess let's start with Kansas Fest, kind of the what, where, when, and why.
So Kansas Fest, I believe this is the 30th or 31st year it's been going on. It started out as the A2 Developers Conference in the way back when. And at some point, the publication that was sponsoring it wasn't sponsoring anymore, so a committee of people got together because everyone still wanted to get together and talk about their Apple IIs.
Mm-hmm. I don't blame them.
And so a committee got together and kept it going all these years. I mean, at 1 year attendance was down to like 28 people, but they kept it going. And with the recent boom in nostalgia and people looking back, it's been growing every year. We've topped 100 people a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're up to 75 or so this year. It's at Rockhurst University in Kansas City. Starts next Tuesday. I think it's the 16th. I don't even know what day it is anymore.
Yeah.
And it's really grown. It's not just programmers, it's hobbyists, it's hardware hackers, it's kids that are interested in old computers. People bring their Apple IIs, but lots of other things make appearances. I've taken Retro Max a couple of times. Last year somebody had a Nex slab with them.
Mm-hmm.
like just all kinds of cool stuff. I have a MAME arcade controller that I built. I always take that so people can play the old, it runs off a Mac Mini, but you can play all the old arcade games that I have loaded on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I have like the joystick and I built it myself. I have the joysticks and the 6 buttons, and I have the spinner and the trackball on it. So you can play Tempest with a spinner, you can play Centipede with a trackball, and I always set that up for everybody to play with.
That's
and everybody
so
just
cool.
wanders around the building. We're all in the same dorm. You poke in on each other's projects. There's a space where a lot of people like to go and hang out and hack, and it's literally summer camp for adults, although kids come too.
And it's 5 days long, right?
Yeah, it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Tuesday. Tuesday, most people arrive on Tuesday, and we do all go out for dinner on Tuesday night. But the event proper doesn't start until Wednesday morning. So I've never went. I probably heard about it 8 or 9 years ago, and I've been trying to go every year, and some year I'll make it. And I grew up with an Apple II GS. I still have it set up, the old Woz edition, and I'm jealous of everyone that goes. And you did mention the dorms, so yeah, people stay right on campus in the dorm at the college, right? Yes, everybody. You can get some people get double rooms, some people get single rooms. There's the noisy side where people are up for all hours. There's a quiet area where I stay in the quiet area because I do like to sleep occasionally. Yeah. Some people don't. Some people, go 24/5, and bless them. Bless them.
Yeah.
I can't do that anymore. But yeah, but that's I think what sets Kansas Fest apart from every other. I've gone to anime conventions and literary conventions and science fiction conventions, and it's that sense of community that's built by just being able to wander around. And if your door's open, people are going to come in and talk to you. And your open door means I want people to come in and ask me what I'm working on and talk to me, and I want to talk to people.
You could even feel that not being there. I've watched live streams from previous, like actually watched them live in previous years, and then also in the weeks before and after Kansas Fest on the Apple II Enthusiast Facebook group. You just feel that glow of everyone, still talking about projects, getting ready for Kansas Fest and talking about everything they saw. And I think it's always Javier talking about, I think that's him, always talking about retrobrighting.
Yep, that would be Javier. Yeah. He is the master of retrobrite. I have worked with him. He's worked with me on 2 of my machines, I think, in the last couple of years. So yeah, it's such a blast just being around all these people that know all these different things. Everybody, Javier knows about retrobrite, and there's people that know about hardware, and there's people that know about assembly. And like, I've done presentations in the past on silicone molding for parts, and
last year did a Geekware, how to make your own geeky stuff.
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Last year I presented on how I built the arcade controller.
Oh, cool. I'll have to
up close. Yeah, up close with the main monster.
I'll have to find a link to that, and I'll post it on our Facebook page.
Yeah, everything's on the Kansas Fest YouTube channel.
Cool. So how did you get involved?
How did I end up at the show, or how did I get involved with the planning?
Both.
Okay, so I grew up with an Apple II. We had a 2C when I was a kid. I remember the 2Es and the 2s that we had when I was at school, and my teachers had to use crowbars to get me away from them, and all. Why are you playing with those? Because you're a girl. You're not supposed to stop. Who cares? And at some point I decided I wanted to get a 2, some sort of 2. And I went out looking online, and in my research trying to find computers, I found out that there was this thing that happened every year. And that's definitely on my bucket list, whatever. In 2013, I remember being really mad I wasn't there because Steve Wozniak showed up.
I know.
And I remember I was on an IRC chat with another friend of mine who now goes to Kansas Fest because of me, and I was like, Woz is there and we're not, and this stinks.
Yeah, there's something wrong in the universe. We have to fix this.
Yes, I think I used stronger language than that. But so finally everything lined up this will be my 4th year. Everything lined up. I was able to financially and physically get myself out there, mostly financially. And I had a blast. Like I called my mom, like, cause I called my parents when I was there, and I said, "Mom, I'm coming back next year." And she's like, "Well, yeah, duh. I could have told you that before you got there." So, like last year, I had just kind of, it was just a very casual, hey, if you want to, bounce anything. I've staffed anime conventions and chaired anime conventions, and I'm like, if you need any advice, I'm willing to, be a sounding board. And they're like, actually, how would you like? And I'm like, okay.
That's great.
So this is my first year on the committee, so it's much more chill than I'm used to, which is kind of nice. The whole event is very chill. The people who run it are chill. We're very chill about, getting our lives together and getting the event. They've done it so many times. It's pretty much.
Yeah. Well, any advice for a first-time attendee?
Pace yourself, but try to experience. You kind of have to declare a major at Kansas Fest. You can't do it all. Are you going to go to panels? Are you going to hack on hardware? There's only one track of panels, but still, are you going to hack on hardware? Are you going to enter Hackfest, which is the software writing competition where you start on Wednesday morning? You're not allowed to have anything pre-done, and you write some sort of game or piece of software for the Apple II in the time between Wednesday and Saturday, and then it's judged on Saturday.
That's incredible.
Like, you can have manuals, but you can't have any code you can't come in with like blocks of code pre-written.
Yeah, you bring a floppy disk, and that's pretty much it.
You can't bring a floppy. And what a lot of people do it on. There are dev environments that work on modern computers.
Yeah.
So some people do it, in their Xcode or whatever. But so, are you going to do that? Are you going to hang out in with the disk cracking crew in the corner and learn how to deprotect and copy floppies? Are you going to, you can't do it all. And if you try to do it all, you'll kill yourself. So you kind of have to prioritize, what do you want to do? What do you want to learn?
That's really cool. Yeah, we actually had a Wazaday episode on this podcast. Okay. I'm excited that, that seems like it really took off. And with the help of Jason Scott, too, who will be there again this year.
Yes.
He's such a cool guy.
He will be there. Yes.
Are there any specifics, panels you're really looking forward to this year?
So this year, our keynote speaker, I'm super excited that we got Mark Pelsarsky. I hope I'm saying his name right. He is our keynote speaker. He published a lot of graphics-related software under the brand Penguin Software and Polarware. So he's done a ton of stuff with that. He's written, he's taught, he worked. His big thing that he's known for was the Graphics Magician software. A lot of software publishers back in the day used that. He's published columns and the book Graphically Speaking, which is Call Apple, has that now available for sale. So you can get the book and meet the author. He published some games, Transylvania, Coveted Mirror, Spy's Demise. And I feel like he's going to have a lot of really cool stories about the early days. And I feel like he's going to have a really cool story to tell. So I'm super excited about that.
What's the Coin-Op Arcade and Movie Night? Are there going to be Coin-Op games there?
No, what that is that's kind of the Saturday night is kind of time on your own. Some people go to a movie. Some people go to, there are a couple different arcades in Kansas City that some people go to.
Cool.
And some people, I don't want to spend my time at Kansas Fest sitting in a movie theater.
Yeah, you could do that at home. Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that at home. Saturday night, usually, usually a friend of mine and I try to get a couple of games of Magic the Gathering going. So it's just, that's kind of more of a, people are going to be doing outings. There's, I know, going out to, there's dinner, dinner's kind of, there's no cafeteria dinner on Saturday. It's going out. So that's what that means.
Cool. Are there any of your favorite panels from the past that you'd like to mention? Anything that blew your mind that still sticks with you today?
A lot of things blow my mind because I'm not super technical. I go as basically a hobbyist, but
You're not doing assembly code?
No, I'm not writing assembly. I keep trying to teach myself, and that's a wall, man. That's a wall. So just all of the stuff that they've been talking about, like it's over my head. But the fact that they can take these discs, look at pictures of what the disc looks like at the flux level, so you could actually see the different sectors. The Applesauce does this. And that the fact that they've, figured out what all these different copy protection schemes are and automated devices to just go through, say, okay, this is using this scheme. I do this, this, and this. It's cracked. Go next.
Yeah.
And that
it blows my mind.
Yeah, I think that just watching the disc crew sit in the corner and just chew through floppies and just, it's unbelievable what they've been able to do with the stuff that we have available to us now. I was, in elementary school, and I know we had some cracked discs.
Yeah.
But just knowing how hard it must have been on the metal to do it, and now we've got all this power that can just automatically read and figure it out and do all the work for us. That blows my mind.
Yeah, and endless terabytes to store it on.
Right, I know. The fact that, we can go out to the Asimov archive and I can grab anything.
At the flux level, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can grab any game. I can hook up with the ADT Pro. I can hook up my laptop to one of the machines. I have all my retro stuff behind me. And I can make any game I wanted to play that I read about in a magazine when I was a kid that, we could get our hands on. I can play it now.
Yeah. Oh, for our listeners that don't know ADT Pro, it's a USB to Apple serial adapter and software to copy directly over. I think I explained that correctly.
Yeah, works. It'll work over a serial to USB connection. It'll work over audio, or it'll work over. Somebody has built an Ethernet card, a network interface card for the G. I have one in my GS. And you can put, there's somebody's built a TCP/IP stack for it, and I can put my 2E or my 2E or my 2GS on the internet.
Yeah, I always thought if I was going to do
crazy.
if I was ever going to do a panel at Kansas Fest, my idea would try to be to get Slack or Twitter or something on the 2GS with that Ethernet card.
That would be super cool.
But alas, I have no time right now. So
I'm very lucky in that my real life job I'm a teacher. I have summers off, so I can do this with very little problem.
So, few final questions. Do you know if A2 Heaven is going to be there?
A2 Heaven is.
They do some accelerator boards, and
is that?
They do.
I'm just trying to think who. I know. A lot of times, I know the names more than I know the companies.
Yeah. Well, they're supposed to be coming out with an Apple II GS accelerator card, and I was just hoping you can ask them to hurry up.
I don't know. I feel like some A2 Heaven. I think that's Plomin, and Plomin is in Bulgaria. So I doubt I doubt he's going to be there, but because I have his VGA board in my 2E. That my first year at Kansas Fest, I won that in one of the contests. We have a door decorating contest. We have a wacky tie contest. We have the Hack Fest. I won the tie contest by making a dress, and I came in like third in the door contest my first year. So that was one of my prizes.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, I don't think Plumman himself is I don't think he's going to be there himself.
Well, if he happens to be listening to this podcast, please, man. I've been waiting years.
Because he's great for technical support too. Yeah, I know.
So,
as I spin around and look at what's sitting on
if you had to pick, what is your favorite Apple II version and why?
I'm partial to the 2C because that's what I had growing up as a kid. As a matter of fact, I was never planning on getting one, but there was a bunch of them at K-Fest a couple of years ago, and I was like, all right, fine. It's like a cat's. There's always room for one more. So I like the versatility and the portability of the 2C. I can take it places. A lot of times I'll take some of my old computers. There's one class I teach it's like an intro to education class, and I make them use some of the old software on the metal as one of my lessons, just to kind of show them this is what it used to be like. And like the 2C is just so much easier to drag, even with a small monitor. So that's probably my favorite, just because it makes my life a little easier. Of the ones I own, I love my GS because it's totally tricked out.
Yeah.
I have an Ethernet card in it. I have 8 gigs, I wish. 8 megs of RAM.
How so?
And I have a CFFA card, so I have a hard drive hooked up to it. I have an old IDE hard drive.
8
USB
megabytes.
So
yeah.
I have like 12 different disk images with tons of games and stuff on it. I just load and go.
Mm-hmm.
So it's compact flash in USB that sits in a slot. Okay. So yeah, it's super tricked out. I love it.
We have the exact same setup. That's funny. So to finish up, every episode, Hugh couldn't be here for this interview. He had something come up, but each week him and I pick a game. And would you like us to pick a game to play for next week?
I really dig on the GS version of Arkanoid for some reason.
Yeah, the sound is amazing on that one.
Bloop, 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 bloop. Either that or Task Times in Tone Town is a ton of fun.
I can't believe you said that. That is one of my all-time favorite games. We talk about Rebecca Heinemann all the time on this show.
Oh, she's coming to K-Fest this year.
Oh my god. I'm so jealous.
She was the keynote speaker in 2015. So go back and watch her keynote. It's very good.
She is one of the all-time best programmers, maybe ever.
She's just, her amount of knowledge is phenomenal. I was lucky enough to get to room with her my first year.
Oh, that's so
and
cool.
just like hearing her talk to people, I'm just sitting there going, I'm out of my league.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people know that she is also responsible for the PlayStation 4's operating system. She's
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, at least in the beginning, she was one of the head coders. I don't know if it was for actually the operating system or at driver level, at the boot level, something like she had something to do with it. But that just
because I play a lot of Destiny too, so my PlayStation and I are really good. My PlayStation and I are good friends.
And yeah, when we started this interview, you were just saving your Super Mario Brother World game.
Yeah, I was playing Super Mario World. I've got my Super Nintendo all cleaned up, and I've been seeing how bad I am after too many years failing at the Star World.
Thank you so much for your time, and
You're welcome.
Have a great fest. I wish I could be there this year, but someday. Yep,
you will get there. It will happen, I believe.
All right, thank you so much. So during that interview, I mistakenly said that Rebecca Heinemann does the OS for PlayStation 4, but that is not true. She did the kernel level code for PlayStation 4. So don't write in. It's already been corrected. Yeah, so Kansas Fest is happening probably right when you are listening to this podcast.
Yeah, so if you're not conveniently in Kansas and you can't make it this year, at least plan to make it out at a future date. If I didn't have like another trip right around this time, I might have. I'm definitely going to go to this some year. It sounds great. It looks great. It just wasn't going to work out this summer for me just because of other travel plans.
Exactly. And the hardest part for me is that it's 5 days long.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to carve out 5 days.
Yeah, so you have to think about like what you have to kind of look at the sessions that are planned and figure out, what makes sense to you.
Yeah. And if I attended, I would definitely focus on the hackathon part of it.
Yes, and I know I keep saying if you're in Kansas, it's in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yes.
Which, if you're not from America, you probably find that confusing. And if you are from America, you also find it confusing. It's technically Missouri, but it's called Kansas City, and it's on the border with Kansas.
Cool. Well, I guess it's game club time, right?
Yeah, let's talk about some games.
So yeah, I did Ninja Gaiden, and like I said, I was going to focus on the Master System version, which I ended up not doing, mostly because I couldn't find one. So I started out with the arcade version, and I don't have to talk much about it. If anyone is listening to this podcast hasn't played Ninja Gaiden, it's a side-scrolling beat-'em-up from Tecmo. And I played the arcade version, which most of you have probably played. You could do that cool swing from the light post, kick in the face to people. I also played the NES version, the Game Gear version, and the Lynx version. Which version do you think I like the best?
NES version. No.
Wrong.
It's kind of I find that's the most accessible version.
It is the most accessible version. To me, it was the most frustrating version. I mean, that game's known for being difficult. I love Ninja Gaiden 2 and 3 on NES, but my favorite version was for Game Gear. You were a bit more floaty in it when you jumped. My least favorite version was definitely the Lynx. It was oh no, you have that one on cart?
Yeah, it's the version I played. The Lynx on cart. I'd fire it up, except my Lynx pretty much. I think I can put batteries in it, but I only use it with AC adapter, so it's not really a portable system for me.
Yeah. My problem with that version was, well, the good part about that version is it was the closest to the arcade. The bad part was it was 1/4 the speed as the arcade.
I think you're being generous saying 1/4.
Really, it felt like a few frames a second. It was almost difficult to play. But yeah, if you haven't played the Game Gear version of this, it's different from the rest. For me, it just felt the best to play. Maybe because it just clicked with me. Again, personal opinion. Nothing wrong at all with the NES version. That's the version I grew up playing. But it's really difficult.
Yeah.
I actually like it better. I like the NES version better than the arcade version. Technically, how they do the between shots, what would you call those shots? Like the intro and
the cutscenes.
Yeah, the cutscenes. Very, very technically impressive. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think this is one of the first games credited to have those.
On the NES, yeah, maybe. Kind of cinematic cutscenes. Yeah, it's definitely not the.
Yeah.
I will definitely call it the first, but it's an early game.
But I'm looking at Wikipedia right now, and other than the systems we've listed, there is a Master System version. I just couldn't find it.
You can imagine it's pretty close to the Game Gear version, though.
Yeah. There is an Amiga version, PC Engine, which I did not play, Game Boy, Super NES, Xbox 360, all virtual console. So this game is very, very accessible. What's your favorite version of this game?
I'm not a big fan of this game, so I sort of find the NES version to be the easiest to play, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I personally, this was an excuse for me to fire up the Lynx, and I heard again that the Lynx does not have a very good version of this game. so that's not a big fan of
Yeah.
that. I probably played a ROM of the TurboGrafx version, and I think it is closer to the arcade than the NES version. Like the NES version kind of isn't very close to the arcade version, and that's probably why I like it best.
Yeah, it's kind of like an analog to Strider.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
between
Yeah. Strider I enjoy on the NES more than I enjoy in the arcade.
absolutely, yeah, you could actually move your character around
Yeah.
quickly. And your game of the week was Food Fight.
Yeah.
So last episode you said this might be a horrible game. What did you
I don't
think?
know. It's a horrible game. It's a weird one because it's like there's kind of only two major versions. There's like everyone's probably played either the arcade or the 7800 version, and there's probably other.
Those are the two
a
I
couple
played.
other Atari ports out there, but those are the two main ones. And I always said like Food Fight is for people who like Robotron but aren't good at it. Yeah,
Really?
because it's a very simple like Robotron style game, in that it's overhead and you throw stuff in different directions, right? Like I know I'm really like super oversimplifying it, but the idea is like you're on this board, you have piles of food, you have chefs who are chasing after you, you just have to make it to the ice cream cone, right? And sometimes you don't even have to throw food, you just race to the other side of the screen. But mechanically, it reminds me of like a much easier version of Robotron.
I do like how the chefs can hit each other
Yeah.
with food. I thought that
That's
was
good
funny.
too. Yeah, and the food has different. What I think is well thought is the food has different characteristics. They have different flies with different speed. That kind of stuff. Some food is much faster than others. Peas have a very short range, but it's a wide range. So they're only good for up close. And then like for some reason watermelon is endless. Maybe the developer hates watermelon and thinks like I don't know why he picked endless watermelon. I really don't. Like some sort of fear of never-ending watermelon. Maybe I don't know. So there's that, and it's one of these games. When I was doing a little research on it, it was funny to find people that really believe the 7800 version is better than the arcade version. Yeah.
I agree with them.
I think it might be. I think
Here's
it's more
why.
fun. It
It
may
plays
not be
better.
technically as good,
Yeah.
but I think it is more fun.
Yeah, the arcade version, so when you get to the end of the level, your head turns into a weird shape and your mouth goes around the ice cream cone, which made me feel awkward just because it just looked weird. It's the animation and stuff like that is smoother in the arcade version, but only to a point where if you played this in the arcade, then you went to Toys R Us and bought this game and brought it home. By the time you got home and played it, you would think it looked exactly the same as the arcade version.
Yeah. I mean, it looks close enough because it's not a very graphically intensive game. It's pretty simple characters. It doesn't move that fast, so it's not that hard really to port it over to 7800.
I was surprised this wasn't on NES because it came out for the 7800 in '87. It seemed about the right time to eventually port it over. There's an Atari 8-bit, so the Atari XEGS had it. I did not see or play that version. But yeah, I like this more than I thought I would. I played it in arcade, but every time I've played it in the arcade, I just popped a quarter in, played it for a few minutes, and then I was done. I never really got to spend time with it like I did this week.
Yeah.
So I was happy to. Anything else to say about it?
No, I think it's about it.
We had some listener feedback about it.
Yeah.
So we had, Majors wrote in. He hosts a cookout every 4th of July, and it's Third Strike of July, where it sounds like they play a bunch of fighting games, and it ends up being a 3-day event where they go through, sounds like they go through a lot of beer, and that sounds like a fun way to spend your holiday. Last week we talked about the Eon Super 64, which is a modless Nintendo 64 to HDMI item. He thinks it's cool and a good idea, but why would there be a de-blur mod on that? Yeah, I don't know. I ordered one of these, so we'll see if it's cool or not. And about the Atari Morse code story that we did, was that last episode? I think so.
About the centipede hidden code. Hidden code, sort of code that doesn't do anything useful.
Yeah. He did a similar thing when he was doing ANSI art back in the BBS days. He would do the background and the foreground as the same color and put his initials or his name in it. So only if you were in black and white mode or you're trying to edit the art that you would uncover that. And I love that he was on BBS's back in the day. So was I. I ran my own BBS.
Yeah, I don't even bother putting my name into ROM hacks that I do. So.
Well, so he didn't have a problem with the article and my problem with using the term Metroidvania. He thinks that, it describes the way the game is, and we just agree to disagree there. I think describing something as a platformer or a vertical platformer better describes something than a Metroidvania, but I guess in a Metroidvania, that also means opening up new areas with new skills, I guess. Mm-hmm. In Turbo Duo, he agrees with us that those pack-ins for the console pack-in segment we did was probably the best, but he'd like to add that the CDX bundle with Sonic CD, Echo CD, and the Sega Classic 5-pack would be a close runner-up.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that bundle. I didn't personally buy it.
So yeah, we left
that was a great
out.
bundle.
Yeah, and I didn't even know about the CDX until probably 5 years ago. And Dumpster Finds, he found a Fairchild Channel F with a slew of carts. That would be a pretty fun find, all for about $5.
Right, this was sort of a pre-dumpster sale. It was it was a rummage sale, and it was like closing hour of it when they do the $5 for all you can haul out.
That's the best part about conventions and stuff like that. Go in there on the Sunday, 1 hour before everyone starts packing stuff out because no one wants to bring that stuff back with them. So you get the best deals. And Ninja Gaiden, he enjoyed the arcade version over the NES adaptations, but the Master System port seems to stay with the NES style. Reminds him of the PC Engine port, which he feels is very poor. I need to check out that port. And Food Fight, he only remembers the 7800 release, was not too keen on it back in the 80s, but his good friend was a big fan of it, and he would bring it to 7800 events, or he would bring it with his 7800 to events, and they would be playing at some point all the time. All right. Thank you for that email, Matrix.
Thank you. And then Different Rob says, my answer to the question, what system has spotty emulation that deserves the most programming attention? I don't know if we asked it as a question. I'm sure we did, though. The Dreamcast.
Yeah.
He would like to see 100% compatibility someday. Also, Jaguar and Saturn is backup answers.
Yeah. To me, it seems like the Saturn is harder to emulate than the Dreamcast, at least on my setups.
Yeah. Also, there's less people trying, or fewer people, sorry. The Dreamcast is such like this beloved status. The Saturn has its fans, too. I mean, there are fan pages and fan podcasts dedicated to the Saturn, but I always feel like the Dreamcast gets more attention.
And also, I think it's so easy to get. A lot of Dreamcast games are ported to Steam and stuff like that, so there might not be as big as a reason, a big of a need. So not many programmers are doing it. But thank you, Rob, for that email. Xavier writes in that he wants to register for a drawing for a PS5. So would I.
He says he wants to register for
we have a drawing for
PS5. And we can definitely arrange to get a drawing of PS5 to you.
Yeah. But everyone that writes in is entered into the drawing for the SIO, the PS10, which is the PS1 SD card.
Yes, now it does require actual modding skills. You need to know how to use a soldering iron for this.
Yes, we are not liable if you brick your PlayStation
Or burn
1.
your house down.
Yes.
Eric from the Pacific Northwest writes to us here. He actually has some questions for us, which was, what was the first ROM you remember playing, or how did you discover emulation? He says he wasn't aware of emulation before Windows 95. And he mentions that on the Retronauts podcast, they talked about NES emulation on DOS. We're actually going to do a subject about this in August. I forget what we said. At some point, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was aware of emulation, just because I was working in a game store in the 90s. Like, people would come and tell me about MAME or, or Nesticle or Genesis, right? These DOS-based emulators. So I was at least aware of it then. And, I mean, there's other forms of emulation, maybe not ROM-based, but, like ColecoVision had an adapter to play 2600 games. So this idea of, like, playing a game on something other than the system it's intended for had been around for a while, but it wasn't a lot before 95 that I heard about it, really.
Yeah, mine was, there was two different cards you could get. So, in Macintosh, you could get a card that would either emulate DOS, it had a built-in 486 chip with some memory, or it had a Apple II card where, I mean, it's not even emulating at that point. It's like a card with an Apple II on it, so you could play all your old Apple II software on it. And that's the first time I heard of emulation, which absolutely blew my mind that I could have a DOS window open in a Mac environment. And then after that, it was Nesticle. I opened up Nesticle in DOS and in Windows 95, and I couldn't believe it. But I didn't have... There weren't really gamepads back then that plugged into, I guess, would be PS2. So I was like, cool, I'm not going to play Super Mario Brothers with my keyboard. So I didn't open that again for a long, long time.
Yeah, and Eric mentions he really got into it in the late 90s. Mostly Sega Genesis, and then used a zip drive to store games, which we all did. I had a zip drive with MAME ROMs for a very long time that I used.
Yeah, I love zip. I mean, it's literally our logo for this podcast.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think anyone who did emulation in the 90s, that's why we picked it, right? Because if you did emulation in the 90s, you use zip disks. It's almost I would say, if I was to do Venn diagram or Euler diagram of, like, people who did, emulation in the 90s and people who use zip drive, it's almost 100% overlap.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't think people bought zip drives for any reason other than storing ROMs.
But he'd also like to know if we are going to do any PS3, Wii, or 360 era games on this podcast. Probably if he's asking if they're old enough.
Yeah, probably not. I don't know. We will probably talk about using those. Like, we have this, like, spreadsheet with a bunch of, like, future topics, and there's certainly something on there about, like, running emulators on the Wii. But
yeah, and on PS3, and I'm sure on 360 eventually.
Yeah, I think
too.
In terms of, like, game club games, PlayStation 2 might be as far back as I want to go. The problem is I tend to pick a lot of, like, multi-platform stuff, so that era is a lot of console exclusives. He was also curious how we got an interest in modding or hacking systems. And for me, it was actually programming far, way, way, way before any system stuff, where, I had an Apple II, and at some point I noticed that Oregon Trail was available in BASIC. Like, there's a BASIC version of Oregon Trail. And that was kind of the beginning of game hacking for me right there.
Yeah, and for me, it was with BBSs. And we had an early system, a Magnavox system, with a CD-ROM in it that I ran my first bulletin board from. And it was the family system. I was just the only person that used it. And I upgraded DOS, and the CD-ROM stopped working. And my dad pretty much said, you broke it and you bought it. which, he was bluffing, but it scared me. So I actually read the manual and learned about config.sys and all that stuff. And that's really when I discovered that, if you read, you can pretty much do whatever you want with these systems. And that's when I started really modding and hacking systems like that. That was my very start of it, But Eric, thank you so much for that email.
What games are we going to do next episode?
Since Kate from our interview said her favorite Apple II game is Arkanoid on the Apple II GS, I'm going with that one. All right. And I have a link in our show notes for a way to play that from archive.org.
All right. Well,
how
it's
about
summertime, so I got to pick some summer-themed games before it's fall. So let's go with California games. And you can play any version. They make California games for every game system that existed in the 80s and beginning of the 90s. Yeah. Literally, it's on everything, right?
And so, please, if you're listening, if you play any retro games, if you have any ideas, if you have funny thoughts for us about all this stuff, email at retrogameclub.net. That is email at retrogameclub.net. If you're listening to any old episodes, please write in about the older games that were part of Game Club. Any news items that we talked about that you want to add to. And you will also be entered into that SIO giveaway.
Yeah, and we would like to do more interviews too. So if there's like a project that you're working on that you think fits the show, contact us.
Yes, please. We're always we have this podcast as an excuse to talk about this stuff. So give us more of a reason to talk about all this stuff. Email at retrogameclub.net. And we do have Facebook. If you post on the Facebook page, we don't really bring that up here. That's just kind of a discussion place amongst our listeners. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, so thanks for listening.